Thank you, Russ, for this very nice, kind introduction. It's a real pleasure to be here. So they asked me to tell my story. That's what I'm going to do. It's a long story. That's my story. So I started a PhD in '86. I'm going to detail those different milestones. Then I created my first company, Praxim. I was the CEO of this company. It was acquired by Omni. Then I created a bunch of startups. They have been all acquired. The last one was Orthotaxi acquired by Johnson & Johnson. And then I will talk about my new company, Surgivisio. So my PhD started in '86. And my PhD thesis was computer-assisted surgery. That was the title of my PhD thesis. And I developed this robot with huge resources. One part-time engineer, me, knowing nothing about robotics, nothing about software, nothing about medical products. But I had a great advisor, Philippe Cinquin. I had a bad robot, probably the worst robot that existed at that time, from a company that disappeared, AID. But they modified the robot a little bit. They increased the reduction ratio on joints. I had one IBM PC, you know, the black and white, the green screen, using DOS, Pascal programming, with unclear documentation and inverted serial ports. But I had one amazing surgeon, Professor Benabid. I think he's the inventor of deep brain stimulation for treatment of Parkinson's disease. He got the Lasker Prize a few years ago for that. And that was a fantastic journey with him. So when we started, we had different reactions. People were amused, suspicious, or horrified. That's about it. You know, to use a robot to go in the brain of patients at that time was really crazy. Why? And, you know, are you sure? And we did it. So after 3 years, we made our first patient. And after, this robot was used for hundreds of patients, just this prototype, the one you see now. So it was, you know, bringing a calibration phantom around the head. Then we took X-ray with the phantom to register the robot with the images. We had not digital images, so we had to digital images manually. That was Windows was not existing, so we had to do everything with characters for the user interface. But it was working, and it was positioning a guide at the exact location we were defining on the X-ray images using 2D images. And we used that robot for biopsies, for introduction of electrodes. And I don't know if you are familiar with EBS. It's very spectacular. You place the electrode, you turn on, and when you find the right spot, after several hours, the patient is cured. So you ask him to hold the glass, you turn on, and he stops. Wow, that's really where my patient comes from. Verification and validation at that time, nothing. CE marking was not existing. There was no CE marking, nothing. Only a surgeon saying, hey, Steph, tomorrow we do the surgery. Why? I'm not ready. Yes, you're ready. It works. That's really how it works. That's really the first in human at that time. Nothing. No documentation, nothing. No test. Zero. So this phase was really this famous sentence, you know, they didn't know it was impossible, so they did it. It was pure unconsciousness. We were totally, we were not aware of what we were doing, but we did it. So that's phase one of my life, 3 years, the first 3 years. So I was super excited. Then I stayed in research. I was a permanent research at the Grenoble University. I developed robotic, haptics, 3D, 2D registration, elastic registration for different applications. And the main projects that were exciting for me, that had a bridge, that started to create some bridge to the industry. We developed the first image-free navigation application. That was the invention of image-free navigation for orthopedics. That then created a lot of products. We developed a complete CT-based spine navigation that was then partially integrated on the software side by Medtronic to develop their spine navigation. We also helped Esculap Biebron to develop their first navigation system that is still in use today after, 20 years? Yeah. After 20 years, same product basically is still in use, and they've done, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of cases all over the world with this technology. So phase 2 was exciting, but also frustrating. That, like you, I was in a research lab, and there is always this question of budget and politics and everything. So I think, it was okay, but I thought there was a better way of doing things. And with Philippe Cinquin, my advisor, we created a first company from the university that was Praxim. And in a couple of years, so I was the CEO of this company, we developed a good industrial vehicle. We sold 300 navigation systems worldwide. I acquired my sister company, Medivision, from Synthes at that time. I had an alliance with the HSS in New York, a big famous hospital. We invented a bone-mounted robot. We named it Praxiteles, the picture on the right. We developed total knee arthroplasty with bone morphing. That was, I think, the invention. And then we developed many applications for uni-knee, hip, tibial osteotomy, spine, ENT cranial, dental implants. We had to pass at that time the CE, the FDA, but that was okay. It was not so difficult to pass the regulatory. But we had too much, so we decided to spin off some of those activities. We spin off the urology activity to Coelis, and Coelis is now very successful in urology. We spin off some robotics prototypes we had to EndoControl, which is also, it has been acquired a few days ago. And CAD implant, the dental implant technology that was acquired by Keystone. And then this company was acquired by Omni, and they maintain only this mini robot, the Praxiteles you see on the image, and they stopped all the other activities. So it was an industrial success, this company in general, but it was a terrible exit for the founders, in particular me. I got nothing from that. I worked hard, really hard, That was my first divorce. That was my, seriously, it was a lot of hard work during nights, and at the end I got 0. Well, really peanuts. So that phase 3 of my life was struggling, stressful, but that was my MBA. At that time, there was no structures to help researchers to go to business. There was nothing. Today, there are fantastic tools, people, incubators, accelerators. You must use them. At that time, I had nothing, so I had to learn by myself. So again, that was my experience. Not so good for the investors and not so good for me. But a good story at the end, good products. And then I decided to focus on some small companies. First, I created my research company. I need a vehicle. That was Min-Max Medical. I still have it with 15 engineers. And this is basically the brain of the system, where we develop the core technologies. So nobody knows what is done in Min-Max Medical. You can go on the website, you will see nothing. And I developed the first companies. One of the first was Traumis. This is a company we developed with UBC in Vancouver with Professor Tony Hoxton, and it was quickly successful, acquired by a large trauma company for a few $1 million, just as a prototype. I had also created EMASCAP, a company in shoulder surgery. I was the main shareholder, and but I decided I had too much on shoulder, so I sold my shares to surgeons. And recently they have been acquired for, I think, 85 million by Wright, so another success with that. But with the money they gave me, I created my own incubator, accelerator, BizMedTech. So now I have those two structures, MinMax Medical and BizMedTech. So I have the research and I have the business accelerator to help startups. And it was successful because then we created another company named A2 Surgical that became A3 Surgical, developing a software for femoroacetabular hip impingement. When you have a conflict on the hip motion, they do a surgery. It's very difficult to know what bone should be removed, resected, and how much. So we developed a software for that. It was acquired by Smith & Nephew. And we helped them to make the FDA approval for that. We also created a company named Blue Ortho. I wanted to revisit totally navigation for knee surgery and shoulder surgery. So we did it with a very small miniature navigation system. We developed everything, including the camera, almost from scratch. So that was hard work also. And it was not a big exit. You know, I can tell you this one was public. It was 10 million euros. But we were 3 founders. I was the majority shareholder, and there was no loan, no investor, just the 3 of us. So not so bad. Sometimes you end up with deals at 100 million or 300 million, but you have only 5%. We had 100%. So this model of selling an early stage company is good from a financial point of view, and also I think from a control point of view. Then we created UroMEMS. This is an artificial urology sphincter. So it's a mini robot inside the body if you want to stop the urine when the sphincter does not work anymore. This is a very impressive project. I have only a minority stake now. We created Imactis. That's a navigation system for interventional radiology for CT-based procedures like ablation. So we are still in the phase of developing this company. I'm sure it will be acquired soon. And the last one was Orthotaxy. I redeveloped a new robot. And I wanted to raise money and to develop it to the commercial level. But some giant company, Johnson & Johnson, they came, they discussed, they wanted to invest, and after some months, they say, "We buy you." What? Yeah, we buy the company, but it's not finished. It's an early stage prototype. Yeah, but it's really strategic. Was the price? Was not discussed at that point. It was discussed after. So it's a good deal for me, of course. So a lot of people say, why don't you stop? No, it's my passion, it's my life. And if you come back to the first story of my career, that was this introduction of the electrodes with the robot for deep brain stimulation. I think we can really be useful. And we have an opportunity to be really useful, to really bring something to people. So I think I can't stop. And now I'm focused on a new company named Surgivisio. So this phase was struggling also, but rewarding. So what's next for me? Have we done most of the job? And what's next after robotics in the bone surgery? All companies, all the 5 big companies have acquired a robot now. Stryker, they acquired Mako. Smith & Nephew, they acquired Bluebelt. Zimmer, they acquired another French company, Rosa. J&J, they acquired my company, Orthotaxy. And Medtronic, recently, they acquired Mazor. So is there still a room for something in robotics in the domain of musculoskeletal? I think yes. And the dream is to accomplish something similar to what Intuitive Surgical has done for soft tissues. I think they did a wonderful job. You can criticize, but I really think this is a fantastic story. And if you think it's not a robot, it's a platform that integrates the robot, the imaging, and some workflow using training. And there is nothing like that in the musculoskeletal side. So it would be ideal to have something that unifies 2D and 3D X-ray imaging, because it's bone surgery, with navigation and robotics. It would be ideal to have an open platform, agnostic regarding implants, because the hospitals, they buy implants from different companies. Very few buy only one brand. With multiple apps, because the number of applications, indications in the musculoskeletal is huge, it's infinite. And that can be used for every surgery. I am tired of systems that cost $1 million and that are used for just 10 surgeries a year. That's really not what we should do, right? And that's all about the ease of use. That's all about that now. So the system should be fast, reliable, easy to use for the surgeon and for the staff. The staff must like it, otherwise they will break. So that would be fantastic to have that, right? And we have it. We developed in the background a company named Surgivisio, which developed the first and only unified open surgical platform offering imaging, navigation, and robotics for musculoskeletal surgery. So it's a company that I created underground in 2009 with a handful of people, 4 engineers, and we made it. Today we have 32 patents. It's a lot of years we spent developing that. We have 50 people in the company today, but we are growing fast. And we have expertise in CAS, workflow, robotics, imaging, software algorithms. It's very rare to have the expertise on all those domains in a small company like that. That was the difficult part. And I think that was the reason for this ambition and success. So we have a product that was recently CE-marked, and we have a wonderful feedback, and we expect to have the FDA soon, and we still raise more money. I want to share. I'm investing, of course, but I'm also sharing this investment with investors. And the story of this company is really the unification of different technologies inspired from the smartphone industry. We don't want to have all those devices to put a screw in the pedicle. That's a nonsense. We need one device with one user interface, and that's it. Correct? So I show you an image, a video about this product, not with the robot, with the navigation at that point. And please listen to the comments from the surgeon.
De haute technicité.
This high-capability machine enables each individual surgeon to imagine new procedures.
Et ça, à mon avis,
In my opinion, Surgivisio has made this possible by offering a simplified, easy-to-use system.
simplicité d'abord.
Surgivisio's setup, which allows surgeons to visualize the vertebrae's position, has been streamlined so that the surgeon has simply to insert pins through the skin and into the bony structure previously identified by palpation and build a reference basis. So there's no incision, no hemostasis, no bleeding or anything. This means we can start setting up the device right after surgical draping. It's very fast, less than 3 minutes, a speed we've never seen before. It's the first real advantage of the technology. As handling C-arms has become routine in orthopedic ORs, any of the regular personnel, radiology technicians who are just starting out, or nurses and residents still in training are able to use it. because it's simple. We use C-arms to visualize vertebrae every day, and this device does the same thing, but in an instant, it can turn into a 3D imaging system. So we go through the AP and lateral images to locate the patient's vertebrae, and once everything is centered, we go on to the 3D image acquisition. At that point, surgeon and staff leave the room, a huge advantage for us surgeons who are used to being exposed to radiation all the time. With Surgivisio, we're not exposed to radiation at all. And for the patient, the radiation dose is much lower than that of preoperative or postoperative CT scans. Then we see the reconstruction of the bone volume in the reference basis. In terms of user-friendliness of the navigation system, it's also pretty straightforward, because the reference basis that we placed at the beginning of the procedure also acts as the basis for the addition of a patient reference tracker. We instantly see our tool, which is delivered pre-calibrated and ready to use. The surgeon simply needs to check a verification point on the patient tracker, and then we navigate. That's the real pleasure for us, and something we've been waiting for a long time. But I guess that's really the miracle of 3D navigation. By that I mean that the surgeons feel much more confident about what they're doing. This machine can also be used as a simple 3D imaging device, not necessarily for navigation, but to check the correct placement of the screws in real time. This means that now, in the operating room itself, we can visualize the 3 spatial planes of the screw's position, and we no longer have to wait for a post-operative scan for verification.
Ça crée une ambiance un peu de sérénité.
It creates a much more relaxed atmosphere in the operating room, less stressful, demonstrated by the fact that our surgeons are competing for Surgivisio slots. For procedures like iliosacral screw insertion, percutaneous screw insertion, or vertebroplasty, even our most senior surgeons prefer to operate during Surgivisio time slots, because they know they can be more relaxed, less stressed. It's become like a serious game to them. Here, during the Surgivisio vertebroplasty case we're showing, we were able to save time over the complete procedure. That's also new. I think we're heading towards less and less invasive procedures, eventually like external maneuvers for fracture reductions or placement of interbody cages. These types of procedures have yet to be invented. That's why I think this will speak to the innovator inside each surgeon. Surgeons are resourceful people who want to make things work better. Of course, they already make the most of what exists, but with the right tools at hand, they can do their innovative, technical best. The Surgivisio simplified 3-part approach in 3 stages will be a gateway to these future innovations.
So that's all about people, and we have a great team, of course. That's all based on that. We have today 50 employees, but we recruit. I have today 20 open positions, so please, you are welcome. Go to our website. We are based in a fantastic city in Grenoble, south of France, in the mountains, ski in the winter, rock climbing during the summer, or hiking. It's really great. A lot of international students there. Of course, it's all based on people management, so we have a great team, great R&D team. Internal production is there. We have the only platform unifying imaging, navigation, and robotics, open to all implants, enabling really something precise using innovation. So that's my dream. That's our dream. I want to share it. And a few take-home message. It has been a long, that's my conclusion. It has been a long journey with as many disappointments as there were successes, including successful exits. the key differentiator for me being perseverance and a fierce commitment to my initial values. I think listening carefully to large companies has helped me to reach success with early-stage exits of key strategic products, contributing to help those big companies in their transition towards the digital world. I really like this model of early-stage exits. It's successful, but I like also the final model, which is for me the dream, the Intuitive Surgical, which is the only company that has made it, in my knowledge. Robotics technology has the power to change clinical outcomes in many specialties. We are on the right track, but there is still a lot of work to do. Interestingly, in my opinion, it's no longer a business issue because everybody wants robots. It's not a question, what robots will work or not. No, they will be there. But it's a pure engineering issue in which usability is the key success factor. Make products really easy to use. This is the real challenge. Thank you.
We do have time for a few questions.
Yeah, this is very exciting. Great presentation, and best of luck with the new venture. I'm wondering if you think you might, or have you already run into any pushback about having to buy so much equipment? And it's nice, on the one hand, it's nice from an engineering point of view to be integrated, to be able to have to, for a hospital to have to buy all the different pieces of equipment, including a C-arm. For example, they might say, look, I've got 10 C-arms in my hospital already. Why do I need to buy another one from you? So I'm just wondering if what your thoughts about that are.
I had the same question.
Yeah, that's a business question. I have an easy answer. With this device, sorry to be a little bit commercial here, but you want to change your C-arm, maybe, because there is a renewal market. High-end C-arm cost, I don't know, in the US, $400,000. What if I bring you this device, which is a little bit better than those C-arms currently existing in the market? In addition, I put to the 2D, I put the 3D imaging. I give you the navigation, and I give you the robot. It's the same price. What do? Yes, we do that. Why? Because we bet on usability. We bet on clinical use. So the surgeons will use it, then they will buy the disposable, and the money is in the disposable, not a capital equipment.
So your focus is a complete solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to offer complete solutions. That's why Da Vinci has been very successful, and the others not that much.
So I think you're also endorsing the razor blade model in terms of capturing cash flow in a hospital.
Absolutely, and it's good for everybody. It's good for the growth of the company. It's good for the customer, for the hospital.
Sure.
Brian?
And it looks like we have all the pioneers asking you questions, Steph. Brian.
I just wanted to ask about the differences that we see with people like Medtronic buying in effectively large robots and taking over relatively small devices and effectively dumping them. So you've got that trend towards bigger and bigger devices, and yet, as you said, really the future goes towards the small, cheap, simple devices. Why is there this difference?
Well, again, in the past I used to say that small devices would win and so on. I'm no longer on that page. I really think the key point is usability. So if you need a big system in order to be very fast and accurate, why not? The big difference with those devices from Medtronic is the usability. Medtronic, they acquired surgical navigation technologies 20 years ago. Then they acquired breakaway imaging, the O-arm, 10 years ago. And they acquired the robot from Mazor a few months ago. Those are three different elements. They say they work on integration, which is nice, but that's not unification. It means it's still different devices. It's my iPhone slide. Do you want the iPhone and the camera in a nice box for Christmas? No, you want the iPhone.
Okay, maybe one or two more.
One last question.
Okay.
So I have an interesting question. I was just looking around. There's probably 50% of the audience are younger generation engineers who are probably still in school. You've done the great work, terrific career path and entrepreneurship. For the younger generation, I know you are working on this great company. You're gonna get success at some point. If they were either they can join you in the journey, which you probably prefer, but if they want to disrupt you, what technologies or what things you are afraid of that maybe the next generation in 10 years from now that can totally disrupt this, like you were doing today? I'm just throw this open question out. I guess it's not only for you, but for everyone who's doing it. But I see this is like a platform, very comprehensive, but what's next in your mind?
Okay, what's next after the what's next? I think that the key will be in the apps, because again, we have a nice platform now. Maybe there will be a copy of this platform, probably and hopefully, but the key then will be in the apps running on those platforms. So what will be really important and disruptive will be the way you do, for instance, the hip surgery. Nobody has cracked the hip surgery using robotics and navigation. That's a very difficult challenge. If you crack it, you're disruptive, and then you're the king, I tell you, on the hip. This is really something very difficult because systems are too complicated based on the added value. The problem is that in the hip, for example, people are saying that the hip is going well in most of cases, which is not true. If you look at the registry in the US, it's not so good. It's not as good as the publication from the experts. But still, the impression is that it's going well. So you need something that is really easy to use, that brings all the data to make a hip very well aligned. And we even don't know what are the best criteria for the hip for every single patient. So the key will be on specific clinical apps.
I think we really should thank Dr. Lavallée.